It's mixed. Some of them think it's going to start on time. Some of them think it's going to be delayed. I don't know, but I think it's good, actually. I think negotiating is hard, but it's good. It's anybody that is willing to bet on self in this space is always a good thing. And bet on self is both ways. It's the WNBA is betting on self, and the players are betting on self. I've been a player, and the game isn't high demand, like super high demand.
She's trying to make it sound so good.
Right now, you're going to settle for anything in the future. So I think we'll have a season. Just me, but I think we'll have a season, and I believe it's going to start on time.
Thank you. Look at her face. That isn't confidence. That's uncertainty wrapped in carefully chosen words. Dawn Staley just said she believes the season will start on time. But everything about her delivery suggests she isn't sure. And that hesitation tells us more about the state of CBA negotiations than any official statement from the league office ever could.
I believe that the WNBA players are looking out for the old players. Sydney Colson said it all earlier, and we're going to play that clip too here for y'all. But I want to talk a little bit because the fact of the matter is that Caitlin Clark, Paige Bueckers, Reese, Cameron Brink, all of these new players came into the game with their own bag, came into the game with their own notoriety, their own fans. And the way it's looking to me, from the outside looking in, these old hags are some haters. And Dawn Staley is 1,000% agreeing with the...
Now here's where it gets interesting. Dawn Staley just connected the dots between Caitlin Clark's arrival and entire negotiation dynamic. These rookies came into the WNBA with something the veterans never had. Their own money, their own brands, their own leverage. Nil deals, social media followings, endorsement contracts signed before they ever stepped onto a WNBA court. And according to Dawn, that's creating a fundamental divide in how players view these negotiations. She called the old guard haters, not my words, hers. And when a coach with Dawn Staley's reputation uses that language, you need to pay attention to what she's really saying.
The league change and the type of player that's come into AU this season.
I think that we've seen a lot more young players this year be interested, and young players in the W, like rookies in the W, they're a different breed because they came into the W with having like NIL, having experienced NIL and what that attention, recognition, more money, what all of that can be like. And so they have a lot going on outside of basketball. So the need to go overseas doesn't feel as pressing or urgent. So we're lucky that we got to get a lot of those players who, weren't playing it unrivaled. They still wanted to play 5-on-5. They heard from, friends or other people that AU was a good environment. We were just lucky, I think, with the timing. But yeah, getting to have a lot of those rookies, having some vets like Tina Charles come be a part of it, having, people like Mercedes Russell, a lot of people who, maybe weren't going to give it a chance before, heard good things, and they came in.
That right, there is the smoking gun. Kelsey Plum just laid out the entire shift happening in women's basketball. Rookies coming into the WNBA in 2024 had nil experience. They had money. They had options. The urgency to go overseas and play in brutal winter leagues just to make rent? Gone for this generation. Tina Charles playing in Athletes Unlimited. Mercedes Russell giving the league another shot. These aren't desperate players scraping together a living anymore. They're athletes with choices, with bargaining power, with the ability to say no. And that changes everything about CBA negotiations, because when you're not desperate, you don't settle. You demand what you're worth.
So I know they were facilitators in the past. It was a little bit different, kind of player-led. Why did the player executive committee decide to make that change this year?
I think because there's such a variety of types of players that can become captains because of the leaderboard in the format here. But we wanted to just empower the coaches who were facilitators a little more, because sometimes it could be a post player that doesn't want to have a lot of the responsibility, or you might have a point guard that does want a lot of the responsibility and maybe doesn't give a lot to the coach, but we still need the coach to coach the rest of the team, because you might think that you're doing a good job as a player, but you're maybe missing some pieces that you don't even know to look at because you haven't coached before. So we're like, yeah, let's give a little more responsibility to them. Let's change the name so people aren't as confused, I think, about what their responsibility.
The league even changed the coaching structure in Athletes Unlimited because the variety of players coming in demanded it. You've got post players who don't want leadership responsibility sitting next to point guards who want total control. The old player facilitator model couldn't handle that range. So they empowered coaches to actually coach, gave them real authority, changed the title so nobody was confused about who was running the team. That's not a small adjustment. That's acknowledging that the player base has fundamentally changed and the old systems don't work anymore. Now apply that same logic to the WNBA's CBA negotiations. The league is trying to use an old playbook with a completely new type of player, and it's not working.
Paige Bueckers, Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, all of these new players came into the game with their own bag, came into the game with their own notoriety, their own fans. And the way it's looking to me, from the outside looking in, these old hags are some haters. And Don Staley is 1,000% agreeing with the...
And let's go back to what Don said about Caitlin Clark's college career. The content was different. The trajectory was different. The style of basketball was more fun to watch and more fun to cover. Then Caitlin entered the WNBA, and according to the creator in this video, it stopped being fun. Why? Because the league didn't adjust to what she brought. They tried to fit her into their existing framework instead of recognizing that she represented something new, a player who didn't need the WNBA's platform because she already had her own. And now you're seeing that same clash play out in CBA negotiations. Veterans who built the league want their due. Rookies who brought their own audience want their share. The league wants to maintain control, and nobody's willing to bend.
Look at Don. She don't even look like she believed that at the end, bruh. She don't even look at her.
I have a dog in the fight.
Hold on.
I don't have a dog in the fight. But I don't have a dog in the fight.
So she letting her know she don't know nothing. To me, just like I said earlier, if you guys did not see the video,
Here's what's actually happening behind the scenes. The WNBA is experiencing its first real negotiation with players who have legitimate outside options, not theoretical options, real ones. Caitlin Clark signed an 8-year, $28 million deal with Nike before she played a single WNBA game. Angel Reese has Reebok. Paige Bueckers will command similar money when she enters the league. These players aren't negotiating from a position of weakness. They're negotiating from strength. Compare that to the veterans, players like Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, who spent years grinding overseas in Russia and Turkey, playing through injuries in freezing gyms just to make enough money to justify staying in professional basketball. They built the league's credibility when nobody was watching. And now, they're watching rookies walk in with more endorsement money than they made in their first 5 seasons combined. That's not jealousy. That's legitimate frustration about the timing of the league's growth. The veterans did the hard work. The rookies are reaping the benefits. And the CBA negotiations are where that tension is exploding. Dawn Staley sees it. She coaches college players who are about to enter this exact dynamic. She knows these rookies aren't going to accept the same deals their predecessors took. They don't have to. And she knows the veterans aren't going to quietly accept getting leapfrogged by players who haven't proven anything at the professional level yet.
Since she came here, it ain't been the same, dog. It ain't been fun. I've been here since college. And I'm telling you right now, the way things is now, it is not fun. It ain't fun at all. To cover this, it ain't fun to talk about this. It is just not fun, bruh. I'ma keep it real. Now, Sydney Colson opened up about the WNBA in this interview right here that aired earlier today.
How have you
Let's
seen?
listen.
Watch Dawn's face again when she talks about whether the season will start on time. She says, "I think we'll have a season 3 times in 30 seconds. That's not emphasis. That's someone trying to convince themselves." And then she adds this qualifier, "Just me, but I think we'll have a season." Translation: this is my personal hope, not information I have from inside the negotiations. Dawn Staley is one of the most connected people in women's basketball. She has relationships with players, coaches, executives, and agents across the entire ecosystem. If she's uncertain about whether the season starts on time, that tells you the negotiations are worse than the public statements suggest. The WNBA's official position has been optimistic. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert said in January that both sides are committed to reaching a deal. The Players Association has been quieter, but their public statements have emphasized fairness and equity, standard negotiation language. But here's what you need to understand about CBA negotiations in professional sports. Casual fans move on. Corporate sponsors find other places to spend their money. And the league is back to being a niche product that most Americans ignore. Dawn Staley knows that. The players know that. The league knows that. But knowing it and acting on it are two different things. And right now, based on everything we're seeing, it's not clear that anyone's willing to compromise enough to get a deal done. So yeah, the season might start on time, but if it does, it'll be because both sides blinked at the last second, not because they actually resolved the underlying issues. And those issues are going to keep bubbling up until someone has the courage to address them honestly. The WNBA is at a crossroads. The decisions made in these CBA negotiations will determine whether the league capitalizes on this moment or wastes it, whether it becomes a sustainable professional sports league or remains a subsidized side project of the NBA, whether it rewards the players who built it or the players who are growing it. And we're about to find out which path they choose. Drop your prediction in the comments. Do you think the season starts on time? Do you think the players get what they're asking for? And most importantly, do you think the WNBA can actually sustain the growth from the past 2 years? Or is this just a temporary spike that's going to fade once the Caitlin Clark novelty wears off? Let me know what you think.